Right. Yeah, this is a second submission. Pretty much this is the understanding of the nutritional requirements of animals and demonstrate the role of nutrition in animals' healthcare and diet-related diseases. So, pretty much the history of it. Over the decades of evolving and the years of evolution with donkeys, the species have become primitive ancestors with horses as well as the welfare, each changing within their environment. So pretty much the history behind this breed is that donkeys were first domesticated around 6,000 years ago in North Africa and Egypt for meat and milk. Around 2,000 years ago, donkeys were used to carry silk from the Pacific Oceans to the Mediterranean along the Silk Road in return for trade routes. And so it's good, of course. It was proven that donkeys were also a working animal. So from these figures here and here. But now, of course, donkeys today come in all shapes and sizes, colours and coat textures. So pretty much the type of donkeys there are, it's pretty much, although there are two distinct species of wild donkeys, the Asiatic branch of the species, which came from an area stretching from the Red Sea to the northern India. Luckily there is more than one type of Asiatic wild ass, and of course many other breeds, like start with the Grand Noir Berry. This is a breed of donkey which comes from the Berry regions of France, and the height of a male ranges from 135 cm to 145 cm. Next is a Hinny donkey, which is pretty much the result of a breeding between a female donkey and a male horse. A Hinny is said to have a body of a donkey in the extremities of a horse. Hinnies are generally smaller than mules and are less common than mules. Next one, in figure 1.5, the miniature donkey. Pretty much the miniature Mediterranean donkeys are a separate breed in their own right, originally hailing from the islands of Sicily. The next donkey we'll talk about is the Poitou donkey. This is a breed of donkey that has a thick, matted, and tangled coat, which orientates from the Poitou regions of France, about 300 miles southwest of Paris. And finally, a mule donkey. This is a breed between a male donkey and a female horse. It is said to have a body of a horse and the extremities of a donkey, so it's pretty much the opposite of a Hinny. Mules can range in height from 36 inches up to 17 hands, depending on the size of the mare and stallion used. Although the breed from this section here, the breed what we're going to talk about is the mule. So pretty much, and the nutrition requirements and the disease and etc. Slide 4, and pretty much overall, donkeys are natural browsers and will graze up to 16 hours a day on a diet of high fibre and plant materials. They are very efficient at metabolizing their food, and therefore their energy requirements are lower than similar sized ponies. Pretty much this makes them easy to overfeed, which can lead to serious health problems such as hyperlipaemia, laminitis and other organ dysfunctions. Ideally, donkeys should be fed 1.5% of their body weight in dry matter for maintenance. A donkey at grass will not require more than straw to supplement their grazing, even if they are light to work. So pretty much, the first one is grain. A mule is sometimes classed as a working donkey. If it is known as a working animal, it won't require as much grain as a comparable horse. According to some researchers, working mules generally receive up to 1/3 of the grain ration as a similarly sized working horse, but it much depends on the individual animal, of course. Hay is the majority of the mule do tend to just eat the suitable grass outside within the fields. Like it's quite common, to be fair. Although they don't need the richer legumes hay, such as alfalfa, I think, which is an image of figure 1.8. It's a type of, it's a supplement, pretty much, whatever. While mules might consume lesser quality hay without incidents, it's not a good idea to feed any equine poor quality hay. It can lead to some disasters. Pastures. If the requirement of a good pasture and an accessibly place to enable water will enable a mule to take care of its own needs, providing rich grass and suitable mules, enables the prevention of laminitis, which is a fatal inflammation of the lamina of the hoof. Of course, mules are well known for their sense of self-preservation and pacing themselves. With this trait extending to eating habits, that doesn't mean they can't become obese. A common problem in donkeys is becoming overweight. So, disorders and diseases, pretty much right. First we'll talk about... Right, of course donkeys are mammals which are a vast and strong species that need many nutrients. Also they need a lot of calories to keep themselves going on a daily basis. Although in their natural habitat, donkeys will browse, eating highly fibrous plant materials in small quantities throughout the day. But the supplements which provide the donkeys with a quality and fit diet would be straw, hay, high fibre cubes, dried sugar, beet bulbs, which helps the donkeys who are sick, and water, and for an example, an accompanying milk thistle. There are many disorders and diseases which could affect a mule donkey within a variety of ways. Here is a selection of what type of disorders could occur towards the animal. Tetanus, which is lockjaw, pretty much is where the skin of the hoof is damaged. Mules and animals are linked within the horse mammal and the risk of development of tetanus. West Nile virus, which is from mosquitoes, and botulism, which is pretty much food poisoning. So donkeys can become infected by eating bad, rotten or mouldy grain, hay, silage, or dead animals that are in the grain of hay. Most affected donkeys can die from within 2 to 3 days. And then there's adenovirus, which is a disease presents as a mild cough or breathing disorder. Anthrax, which is affected kind of horses and donkeys as well. Pretty much is high fever. And hyperlipaemia is pretty much an abnormally high concentration of fats or lipids in the blood. So what we're going to talk about is hyperlipaemia. Can't even pronounce it. Right, so pretty much what causes hyperlipaemia? Of course there is an image of there which you'll see in detail next slide. The way hyperlipaemia is caused by is through the nutritional diet in which a mule would eat. As a result of hyperlipaemia, it means for a mule to eat excessive amounts. So they'll put on weight and gain excessive fat reserves when living in a relative lush pasture and with limited exercise. So for an example, living in a sanctuary for a donkey. The way it works is when a donkey stops eating enough, it goes into a state known as negative energy balance. So pretty much, which means in simple terms, more energy is being used up than being taken in. It is known that a female mule donkey is at risk compared to a male mule due to the fact a female requires a high demand when she is pregnant or lactating. What are the signs and symptoms? So pretty much the signs and symptoms in which a hyperlipaemia show may be ventral oedema. Well, so in simple terms, it means excessive buildup or fluid in the body tissue. Signs of liver and kidney failure, head pressing, and even lack of voluntary coordination, so muscle movement. So on this, you can see on the top layer, the fat of the fluid is just increased vastly. So how can hyperlipaemia be prevented? Pretty much the way it can be prevented is that it's usually trying to spot it before any serious situation occurs. So preventions may be minimise stressful events, i.e. make changes slowly, or prepare or train the donkey for new situations. Underweight donkeys are also at increased risk of hyperlipaemia, so the best option is to keep them at a healthy condition, using a fibre-based supplement ration if possible. even providing shelter from bad weather will prevent it. So, and of course there is the references as well if any questions are asked. But yeah, that is the presentation.